Thanks for being with us today. We're glad you're here. You're going to hear not from a mystery guest, but to me it's a mystery story because I don't know what his life's been about. I know he's fought the demons of addiction, and now he's winning that battle. And on top of all of that, he's still got his consequences to pay. Recovery doesn't always eliminate consequences, but it gives you the hope to keep going. So we'll be back in a moment.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Thanks for being with us on this episode of Faith in Your Recovery. We appreciate your involvement each and every week. Keep coming back. Invite a friend. Like, subscribe to our podcast. That'd help us out a lot. Our guest today, he's fought his addiction, his experiences. He's going to share that with us. Tony Neal, welcome to Faith in Your Recovery.
Hello.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you
appreciate that. Tell the folks where you're from, Tony.
I'm from Ridgeville, Indiana. Just a little bitty town.
Over in Randolph County, yeah?
Yes.
All right. Where Winchester's the county seat. Maybe that'll help folks find a connection with you there.
Yep.
So, yeah, I pastored a church over at Ridgeville there at one time, Ridgeville Calvary.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, a number of years back. So, yeah, it's good to see you. I know you're a part of many of our chapters of A Better Life, Brianna's Hope.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been attending?
A little over a year. 438 days clean.
Awesome. Congratulations. Clean from what?
Methamphetamines.
That was your drug of choice. Did it grow into that, or was that your first experience and hopefully your last?
No, this last was a relapse kind of because I was in addiction way before that with methamphetamines, but I was caught cooking and did some time in prison.
Okay. Well, that's behind you now, and I know you still got some consequences you're dealing with, but you're staying on top of that. Let's go back to the beginning. Tell us what your childhood was like and lead us into the start of your addiction. If there's any experiences you need to share or think would be a benefit to our folks, go ahead and hit us with that.
Well, my childhood, I would say it was okay. You know, Mom was strict, very strict. You know what I mean? It's if you got the look, you know that quick.
Yeah, I've had that look still as an adult, okay, from my wife.
Right. So if you know you got the look, then you know you had to stop doing what you did. My dad, he passed away a couple years ago. I should say my adopted dad, but he smoked a lot of weed. And that's the only thing I can really remember him doing as I was younger. And then to me, that was normal, just smoking weed and stuff. But every now and then there'd be something else, but nothing hardcore like that what I was doing. And then, typical teenage stuff, just drinking and partying with your friends, football team, you know what I mean? Played football, wrestling, and everybody. And just drink on the weekends or whatever for the game, after the game. And then, I don't know, went to college, and I met some people in Indianapolis when I was in college, and that's when my world really turned around.
So where'd you go to college?
I went to ITT Tech.
Okay.
Kind of, not really college, but...
That's cool, secondary, furthering your education.
Right.
All right.
But I ran into the wrong people, met the wrong people. Of course, I had to work while I was in college, so therefore, I met the people I worked with, and they were all into big-time drinking and cocaine. That's when I was introduced in cocaine. And then, I just liked it. It was fun. But it was only a weekend thing. And then, I'd go home and see my brothers and sisters, mom and dad. My brother, he introduced me to the methamphetamines, actually. My younger brother. But anyway, so I didn't even like it when I first did it. Didn't hate it. It hurt. You know what I mean? She snorted it. You know what I mean? And I hated it. Never did it again after that. You know, just did it that one time. It's like, yuck, it's nasty. But a few weeks later, he comes back to, he goes, here, you'll like this. He goes, I got some more meth. No, I don't want that. Just don't like it. I just rather drink beer. Well, then he introduced me to smoking it. And holy cow, it was off to the races.
That's what hit you hard, huh?
Yep.
So you had mentioned your dad had his struggle with weed, with marijuana.
Yes.
Did you ever get into weed, marijuana?
I smoked it occasionally here and there, every once in a while, but it wasn't my thing. It just made me tired and just go over here and, smoke it and go to sleep. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay.
But the meth was a totally different story.
How old were you at that time?
Maybe 25, maybe.
Okay. Let's say mid-20s.
Yeah.
Would be a pretty fair guess.
Yeah, my brother's 4 years younger than me, so he's about 20, 21 himself.
He's the one that introduced you to the meth.
Right.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, I got instantly addicted smoking it. Instantly. Because it didn't burn when you snorted it. I couldn't get into the shooting up. I just couldn't do that. I was scared of the diseases, and diseases totally scared me. So I just stick with smoking it, and that's what I liked. And then it got to be expensive. And so I learned how to make it myself. And then after I started making it, it was dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. I had just so much and so many people around me. I want to call them friends, but they weren't really friends.
How long did you use before you started cooking?
Maybe a year.
Okay.
Maybe a year.
So you're jumping into this heavy and quick in all aspects. It touched you in a way it got a hold of you.
Big time hold of me. So, the girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now, she really didn't know how bad I was, but I think she did, but she didn't. You know what I mean? So at one point in my life, I would hide as much as I could. I always called myself a functioning addict. Went up, got to work, still come home, made my drugs, did my drugs, sold to everybody, anybody, didn't care, just as long as I had more money to make more drugs. And that was, like I said, I was 25, 26. And then that lasted quite a few years like that.
As far as the cooking and selling.
Yeah. And then, again, there's so many wrong people out there, and then somebody told on me, which that's normal story from what I'm gathering. Somebody always tells on somebody, which realistically, I was mad for a while about that, getting in trouble because they sent me, a long time addiction. Went to Indianapolis, got arrested, spent some time down there. And then the time I got out of there, still didn't learn my lesson. You know what I mean? Because we had to, in conditional release, you had to go down there and have a urine sample. And then I got tired of waiting, so I just turned my badge in and just left. That cost me 9-10 months in the county jail. Got out of there, still didn't care, still used, still making dope. And then the Madison County, they come in on me. And then I just got done making meth back then. This is back in 2004. Well, obviously I was busted. You know what I mean? So even still, me being busted cooking meth, it still didn't stop me. I just kept going. Got out of jail, made bail, and still kept going. I kept going all the way until they pretty much sent me to prison.
So was it a matter of, did you even care about beating it at that time, Tony?
No, not
You were
even.
enjoying it too much and everything that went with it, or at least it had you thinking you were enjoying the pain and the suffering that it brought.
This is definitely true. It definitely had me thinking I was great. I was, had all these people around me. All they were just for the free drugs. I didn't really sell drugs, just every now and then I did to make the money to make more, but mainly I just gave it away, smoke it. I never told too many people this story, but, once I went to prison, then I was, all right, it's time to get clean. I've been this long, this clean. So I did 3.5 years, I think it was, in prison, got out, and I was like, I'm done. I ain't doing no more. But I didn't have no aftercare. I think the aftercare is the biggest part of recovery.
Go ahead and say that again. I want folks to hear that.
Aftercare is definitely the biggest part of recovery.
Okay.
And I didn't have none then. I just got out of prison, got a job, found a different job. Been at my job now 17 years.
What is that?
Tree trimmer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard work, but keeps you honest. And then I don't know what happened. Several years go by, we're happy, we're camping, we're playing, just being a family man, just drinking a few beers with the neighbors every now and then, and that's the extent of my partying. And then, I don't know, a couple other people come rolling around. They had some cocaine, so we did a little cocaine every once in a while. But it was still nothing that it grabbed a hold of me. You know what I mean? It's just a weekend party thing. I was just a partier. And then, I don't know, we somehow we ended up looking for a house over here. I don't want to say my brother passed away, and then that's when the pills, you know what I mean, because I have a bad leg, I should say. And the pills really took over because they really numbed the pain when my brother passed. So therefore I started looking and seeking pain pills as much as I possibly could. I was buying everybody's prescription I possibly could because I had a job.
So it became your meth at that moment.
Yeah. For quite a few years it did. I mean, at that point, I guess I've been off meth for, 7, 8, 9 years or whatever. And then the pills became a big, big problem. You know what I mean? I don't even think the wife knows us.
Were they a bigger problem than your meth had been?
No, not really. But I can control it a whole lot better. I can do a whole bunch of pills and nobody would know.
Yes.
I could hide it so much easier. My wife just to the point that she could look me in the eye and say something. She knew I was doing something. You know what I mean? Straight. I don't know how she does it. Nobody else could ever tell, but she could tell. But, once the pain pills did, and then, like I said, we moved back to Randolph County after my stepfather passed away, kind of helped my mom out, stay closer to my mom so I can help her out, do this, that, and the other. And the pills become so bad that I was like, I'm just sick of it because it costing too much money. You know what I mean? The pills got to be expensive. So I needed something else. So I found this other guy, and he was smoking meth again. I was like, ooh, I can do that. I'll switch it. So it helped me get off the pills, and then I'll just get off the meth. Lo and behold, that is not the truth. You know what I mean? So it hurt really bad to get off the pills. You know what I mean? That was the worst I've ever felt in my life, that 2 weeks of it, of getting off them pills. But once I hit the meth pipe again, I started out with that, and then it was like, it feels better. And then, Jiminy, next thing you know,
Had you back in that same hole?
same deep hole. I mean, it started out with just a $10 little piece to a 20 to a 50, and then next thing you know, I got hundreds and hundreds of dollars spending on it. It's not like back in the old days I could spend $100 and make ounces. You know what I mean? I can't do that now. I wasn't going to go down that road of making it. I'm just not doing it. Never did after that, but I don't know. I'm trying to think. The biggest problem, my wife found some stuff in my pocket. She goes, "Are you doing drugs again?" And she calls it junk. That's what her nickname was for it back then today. I'm like, no, well, of course, I'm going to lie. I'm going to lie. So, no, I'm not. She kept asking me, "You doing it? You doing it? You doing it?" No. And then she holds up a gallon baggie just full of pipes and meth. And I was like, well, maybe a little. So it was a bad deal. And then she knew from that point on, but I think she knows how bad I was because she begged me to quit, and she knew I was going to get in trouble. And then, for several years, I just didn't listen at all, you know what I mean? And then we had our problems, so we kind of split up a little bit. she filed for divorce, and then every time we had a court date, I was out working out of town somewhere, so I could never make a court date. So we never ended up getting a divorce. And then I hooked up with some more people here in Anderson. So I ran around Anderson for like 3-4 years and just run around doing drugs and getting up and go to work, come back here, never go home. I don't know why she's still with me, but she is. A lot of this stuff, it makes you want to cry.
Well, I'm sure when you think of what you did, not only to yourself, but to her, and she's still staying in there, that says something about her, Tony. It truly does. And it says how much she obviously cares and cared about you.
I would say she does. I would say she definitely does.
She had her excuses, and she had her evidence to prove it as if she needed it.
Right. She definitely could have left me, and it'd have been just cause, and I wouldn't have been really mad. At that point in time, I didn't even really care about nothing but the drugs. Get up, go to work, get more drugs. You know what I mean? It didn't matter if I even slept in my car for the longest time, slept in a tent for a whole summer. You know what I mean? Anything but to go home and listen to her tell me that I was an addict. You know what I mean? I didn't want to hear that. Even though I told myself so many times, you got to quit, you got to quit, you got to quit, but nothing ever clicked. I don't know. I just did this for years and years. And
how did it click? What happened that caused it to speak to you in a way that said, I am done, and you meant it in your head and heart?
Well, there was, I made it back home finally. And one morning I got up, took a shower, sitting there brushing my teeth, shaving, and then I don't know. I caught that man in the mirror. The man in the mirror looked like dead in my own eyes. And it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You're just making a life out of everything, out of everybody around you. So then I don't know, that morning I went to work and called a rehab. I went to rehab. You know what I mean? That was what I'm going to do. And then I didn't tell nobody I was going to rehab. I just did it. I just made the phone call myself, just to make sure I wasn't fooling my own self. But so I called them. They said this was on a Monday, and said I can be there at Thursday at 1:00 or something like that. And I was like, all right, I'll be there. So I didn't tell nobody until like Wednesday. And then they're like, I said, well, will you take me tomorrow? She goes, take me where? And that's why I told her I made the phone call and I'm going to rehab. And I'm just going here to Cambridge City. So too far away. I didn't want to be too far away. I know they would have came, picked me up, brought me home and stuff like that. That's what I heard they do. But I still didn't want to be far away because I thought we could have visitors. You know what I mean? I could still see my kid and this, that, and the other. And, well, lo and behold, you can't have visitors. Can't even hardly make a phone call. One phone call a week. I think it was almost like prison, But I used them personally, one, to get some tools to learn how to stay sober. And two is to basically get away from the crowd. You know what I mean? The people. And mainly,
you've got to change your people, places, and things.
And that was the biggest part. Stay away from the dope dealer. You know what I mean? Where I get my stuff. I had to stay away. Because every time I tried it myself, it was like 2 or 3 days, right back to the dope dealer. You know what I mean? 2 or 3 days back to the dope dealer. And I didn't do nothing lightly at all. So when I did it, I did a lot of it. You know what I mean? So when people talk about 8 balls, I want to talk about ounces. You know what I mean? I ain't going to do it. I'm not getting an 8 ball. I'm going to go get an ounce. You know what that is. That's just a bigger charge. But that's just what I did.
How long were you in rehab that time?
28 days.
28 days. That's normally what it calls for. I didn't know if you had any kind of extension or anything else. What Do you feel like it worked for you, that 28-day rehab? And this is not a blanket statement to anybody else out there who's struggling. We're all different. Did it work for you?
I want to say 50-50, be all honesty. It's 50-50. You know, when I got out of 28 days, you know, I knew I was clean because I had to pass urine samples in there, so I knew I was clean. It felt good to be clean, but I didn't have the aftercare yet. You know what I mean? I still have it.
Back to what you said
Right?
earlier.
I didn't have it. I didn't know what to do either. You know what I mean? So once I got out, and then my wife, she's looking all kinds of stuff up, and then she found ABLBH. That was the hardest part, was to walk through the doors. For real.
Why? You had to admit to yourself again that you had a struggle, faces. What was it that made it difficult for you?
Well, one, it was the location where I grew up in Union City. I grew up in Union City. So
Okay.
the location was in Union City, and that's my first, and that's basically, I call them my home group. Just not knowing who's down there or who's in there. Actually, it's down there, but you know what I mean? When I walked in, I didn't know, you know what I mean? But once I walked in the door, Sharon, she'd sit there, and this lady, she walked in, she goes, "I know you." I'm like, oh no, this is not what I wanted. Not what I wanted at all. Somebody know me as soon as I walk in the door, you know? And I knew who she was. I've seen her, you know what I mean? I went to school with her kid. So I knew exactly who she was, you know? And it turns out that she's like pretty much one of my best friends now. She's an older lady, but yeah. Her and her husband. Yeah, her and her husband have been real supportive with my wife. You know, my wife didn't go at first, but now my wife goes to the meetings with me.
Good. I think that's important. It helps them understand and helps them deal with it. Any future issues, I hope.
I agree, but I disagree. Because,
Tell me.
Because how can I put it? Because when I first started going down there, I could share everything.
That's what I thought you might say, and that's understandable.
And then she starts showing up, so then you start clamming up. You know what I mean? You just
Gotcha.
say nothing about nothing because, you know, heck, you might incriminate yourself somehow, some way, and then it's going to start a fight. But I go to enough meetings that I share still in Union City, but she goes there, and she even shares, you know, but I go to enough meetings. I don't worry about it no more. You know what I mean? Because I like helping in Union City. I do a lot of stuff for Union City.
I'll tell you what, I've got an affinity for the people over at Union City. They were one of our first chapters. I want to say like third or fourth, but don't hold. Was it fourth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I could easily give names of some of the leadership, former and present. Of course, Tyler Miller's been on our program twice,
Right.
and told us his story. And I know he's going to be going with us to Minster Middle School in Ohio to speak to the junior high kids. He was been with us to Jay County this year. I've got a lot of respect for that young man. He's fought his battle. He's still fighting, but he's staying above it.
Yes, that he is, definitely. And then he's the one that, you know, when I was going to the meetings, and it was like, how do you guys get the word out? You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing about Brianna's Hope. How do you get the word out? How do people know about you besides people like my wife looking stuff up? So I was like, why don't we just set up a booth or something? Like farmer market days. So I started setting up booths, handing out stuff, giving stuff out.
Now, I remember Tyler talking about that, but your name at that time didn't mean to me what it means now.
Right.
So that fills in some blanks.
So I've been out there doing a whole lot. I did a car show up in Modoc, Indiana. I've also did a parade up there in Albany. So, you know what I mean? We built the float and stuff like that for the parade. I'm just trying to think of other stuff I can do to get the word out.
And not only get the word out, but isn't that healing to you? Isn't that helpful to you, generally speaking, kind of paying back?
Yes, I would say it would be, but to me, it's my own brain keeping it busy and you know what I mean? Not really thinking about other stuff, but what I got to do to be positive.
Focus on that. Yeah. Sure. That's an important piece of it.
Right. And, switching back to Union City deal, you get tags, for 1 week clean, 2 weeks, so forth and such. But they come across and it says the big deal. What is that? I got to have that. And that's basically, 3 meetings, 8 meetings, but 3 meetings apiece. So it's like 24 meetings total straight. And you have to bring in like 8 T-shirts because each meeting gets a T-shirt, after your 3rd meeting, this. But so I was like, I got to have that tag. Now that tag's turned into like almost a T-shirt junkie. I've got 16 T-shirts.
There's nothing wrong with that. We appreciate it. I'd like to see that wardrobe, okay? Yeah, that's a big part. Tell me in all of this, Tony, where your faith came into play, how you came into relationship with God, who I think was a part of that man in the mirror.
Oh, that is a definite truth there. I don't know. Once I got sober, I just decided to go what I call churching. You know what I mean? My mom invited me to Wesleyan, where the Union City's held. So I started going there. And I just, like I said, churching. I was just going there listening. You know what I mean? And this, that, and the other. And a year went by already. And I was just like, wow. Some people are judgmental, some people ain't. It doesn't really matter. I think it doesn't matter where you go to church at. You're going to have the same thing.
You're right.
But, I ran into a couple people being judgmental of me, trying to use me to get to other people. And then it came, any class and every class the church offered, you bet you I was signing up for it. You know what I mean? Signing up for whatever. Just getting knowledge of everything I can get a hold of. And then there was a class that says be a membership class. I was like, what? What's this? So I kind of went there, and basically, my pastor, Jeff Groh,
I love Jeff. He's a neat man.
Yeah, I love him.
And he cares.
Yep. And I called him up after the class. And I was like, I'm not ready to be a member. You know what I mean? I feel like my personal self, I don't want to be held to a standard that I can't live up to. So I decline for now. But here lately, it's been heavy on my mind to go ahead and get saved again and then become a member, because the church does so much for me. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Everybody's always super sweet and nice. And
I can't give you the date, but I'll be filling in for Jeff up there in a few weeks.
Really?
He made the contact with me, so I'll be there on a Sunday morning. I'll look that up later and let you know.
Right,
but,
good deal.
Yeah, I want to throw that at you, and I'd love to have you there.
Right. Oh, I would guarantee I'll be there.
That's awesome.
Every Sunday. I mean, I pretty much every Sunday spend the whole day there. That's another thing. Being an addict, to nobody trusting you to do nothing with, you know what I mean? To now, I was hurting for a little bit of money, and and then there's a job opening come up at the church. I was like, well, I can try it. You know what I mean? It's God's way of speaking to me, saying, hey, here's a job opportunity. It's only 5-6 hours a week, maybe. And I was like, I can probably do that. So I applied for it. And I got part of the job. The other lady got the other part, the cleaning part. But they trust me with the key. That's a mind-blowing thing. You know what I mean? From being a pile to going to church on a regular basis, and they trust you, and everybody trusts you, obviously. You know what I mean?
They're believing in you and your potential, and they're seeing the change. They're watching the difference take place. You mentioned of how long you'd been attending. Of course, eyes were on you. It may have felt judgmental at times, but some of them were amazed to see somebody who had been where you were coming up to where you are. So, we're always an example.
Oh.
It's a matter of, is it a good one or not so good one?
Right. And there's other things in my life happening too. So, I mean, like trying to, like the Albany chapter. I go to Albany every Friday. You know what I mean? I love Linda to death. She pulled me aside and asked me if I can start doing the lessons and stuff at Albany chapter. So I was like, well, yeah, I would definitely want to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's just more knowledge for me the more I read. You know what I mean? And then when you just said that, it just, I'm a better person inside or out. One of our prayers. That's the part. I want to look good inside and out.
Yes. The world needs to see both aspects. Scriptures say God looks on the inner person, man looks on the outer. We look at you and judge you because of A, B, C, or D. God looks inside us and sees our potential, our promise, what we can be for Him, and He goes to work on that. We just gotta do our part to cooperate and go with the grow. Yeah.
You asked me about, when the church thing. So I was going to church. I call it churching, you know what I mean? Because I really didn't, I want to say believe, or I knew there was something out there.
Sure.
And then the biggest part of that part is one day I was going to work, had my motorcycle. I was like, man, I can't remember last time I got gas. So I was like, I'll get there because I have the reserve. Of course, then I get down going down 28, hit one, head to farmland, run out of gas. I was like, man, how long? I'm 15 minutes away from home. Just, you know what I mean? I was like, now what? So it's like, well, get a cigarette, got a cigarette out, got no lighter. I was like, oh boy, out of gas, no lighter. I went to go get my phone. Forgot my phone, so now I ain't got my phone either.
That's 3 strikes.
I was like, well, it's a long walk. Let's get stepping. You know what I mean? So I pushed my motorcycle off to somebody's driveway and started walking. I seen hundreds of cars go by, just going by. And then all of a sudden, no cars were going by. I did not see the red truck go by. And then and I was sitting there talking to myself. I was like, is this the time I should be praying? I don't really know. And then I was like, all right, I just don't want to pray because I need something. And so I was like, well, all right, don't do that. Let's do it this way. Let's just pray because it's a beautiful day. Thank gosh it's not raining. And I start praying, and beep, beep. What? I turn around, there's this red truck. He goes, I seen you. You was walking. Do you need a ride? I was like, well, yeah, I do. It can't just be by, I don't know, just can't be. You know what I mean? I think it's the good Lord speaking to me saying, hey, it's time to wake up and
let me give you more than a ride. Yeah.
And he did. He gave me a ride all the way home. He was headed to Indianapolis himself, and he went way out of his way to take me home. You know what I mean? So he had to be a good half hour, 45 minutes out of his way just to take me home, back to the motorcycle, give me gas. You know what I mean? So that was my eye opener right there on Jesus. So from then on, it's just been trying to learn, read. And
that'll take the rest of your life, okay?
Yeah.
And just when you think you know it, you realize there's a lot more to know. That's not a bad thing.
No.
That's how big He is, okay? But He'll give you what you need for the moment.
Doesn't it true?
He supplies that daily bread. And He'll get you through there, as you've seen, to be where you're at from where you were.
Right.
That's a pretty remarkable thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, my life has turned so far 360 degrees from being a hole to responsible and doing the right thing, I guess, what they call it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. So, what is it you'd like to say to somebody out there who's in the middle of their struggle with drugs or, they're in the initial steps of recovery? What kind of advice from your experience can you give?
I would have to say what you said just a little bit ago, people, places, and things. Get away from it. You got to cut all ties, change your phone number, everything. And that's basically what I've done. Nobody's got my phone number from my past, you know what I mean? So everything's a clean slate, start over, and that's exactly what God will tell you to do. I mean, it's a clean slate. You're going to go there. So just keep your head up, keep your nose in the book, and just stay away from all the bad stuff.
So what is your next step in your growth, in your recovery, Tony?
Well, I'm getting a bit older. Tree trimming's kicking my butt. So I'm leaning towards maybe some peer recovery coach training or something like that, or and then maybe a recovery house starting something. I don't know. Just depends on which way it goes.
Let me throw this on the table, okay? You get ready for that peer recovery coach stuff. ABLBH will help make that happen financially. If that's any kind of stress or struggle,
right,
we'll help get you into that in that respect. Obviously, you've got to do the work, but we can help with the funding. That's our way of saying we care and that you matter, and we appreciate what you've given to our organization through your 16 shirts. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have 16 shirts, but I've been to 18 different chapters.
Okay. So that's a pretty good deal, and we appreciate that.
Right.
And you're sharing here today. The title of our podcast is Faith in Your Recovery. What does that title mean to you? We'll wrap up with that.
You got to have faith, period.com. You just got to have faith in the Lord to help you get through it, and just leave everything to Jesus, and that's the way it's got to be.
You know what? I keep going back to my own visual of you and the man in the mirror. I've read that poem. I forget how it goes, but we are responsible to that man in the mirror, knowing that's us.
Right.
But I see Christ standing over your shoulder, feeding words into that individual that you need to hear at that given moment.
Right.
And so we trust the man in the mirror and the man behind him. So, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we get ready to close off here?
No, just keep your faith in Jesus and keep your recovery. And first and foremost, be selfish.
Explain that real quick. Be selfish.
I've heard that so many times, be selfish. And the way I was selfish is that I had an outlook. I kept my eyes forward, my outlook forward. There was nothing going to stop me until I got to the end there.
Amen. Yeah. Get your eyes off people, places, and things.
Yeah.
Look at yourself. Take care of yourself and improve your family.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate your time, your drive over here, everything you've had to share. God bless, and we pray for your future. And folks, we just want to remind you, stay in the battle. Continue with it. Wave that white flag and surrender to Christ and find your way through him. God bless. Amen.